So tonight, I'd like to introduce Harini and Karthik. Just Karthik? Okay, great. Thank you. The topic tonight is life skills for young Australians. STEM Incubators is a grassroots for-purpose charity with a focus on creating and thriving young Australian generations by supporting them with key life skills such as analytical thinking and innovation, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, leadership and social influence, technology design and programming, resilience, reasoning and ideation. We work with deep tech industries and research institutions to incubate and implement experiment-based innovation. We provide end-to-end ecosystem, including the innovation framework, to solve real-world problems for school and university students in STEM areas to achieve the 21st century skills sets outcome. At STEM Incubators, the environment is all about curiosity and passion, and we strongly believe that each individual brings a unique set of strengths to our innovation journey and that they can keep it better in the collaborative ecosystem. STEM Incubators run Taylor-like STEM term-based and holiday program based on curiosity-based learning, design thinking, problem solving, communication, leadership and technology, including coding, artificial intelligence and robotics. Take it away.
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me okay? So we'd like to introduce ourselves as moms and dads. That's who we are in the heart. But what we focus is a frugal innovation platform provided to young Australians. So the way we like to achieve that is essentially giving them the right set of tools, critical thinking tools, problem solving tools, and more importantly, give them something to work with, like the impact area. So I look at this way, right? When the kids are coming out of the school, they got right set of talents, of course, right? All the skills they need, but when it comes to make an impact in the society, it's difficult for them to up the ante, mainly because their exposure towards the leadership, exposure towards the social complication, the dynamic way and the nature of the globalization, how it affects them, it's all pretty alien to them. We like to bring that very close to them, give them the right level of exposure right from a very young age, right? That's the whole idea here. The way we would like to approach this is more, hands-on, practical. That's a whole thought process behind it. So I myself, Karthik, I'm work with Thiagu. So our day job is something else, but this is our passion area. We have people with different backgrounds helping us to achieve our common goal of making sure that we give the right skill sets to our kids. Right, that's where the passion comes in, the shared passion comes in across the board. But if you look at the way we kind of engage, it's more of a community-based engagement. We work across councils, like Kingston City is of course our primary home base, but we work across councils like Casey and Knox, Gardenia Shire. So we cut through a lot of councils. So when I say cut through, it's more of the way we deliver programs. It's based upon our target audience. So these kids, when I say kids, it's more around grade 1 to grade 12. We work with kids essentially to give them the skill sets, right? Now we got volunteers across the board. We got people with a huge experience from the industry. They like to take a day off and spend some time with us. kind of share their knowledge across, it could be IT or it could be technology, it could be anything. So what we managed to do in the last 3 years, we are new kids in the block. We started just before COVID, but we still managed to make some good inroads, especially on technology, and we got some awards around IBM EdTech Award. Some of the kids got some finalist award on the Head Start. We've been recognized by so it's more towards the focus of the skill sets that shaped our kids to achieve those outcomes. It is not the technology, of course. We focus on the very basic skill sets, which I will be covering next. So there is a method to the madness. Okay, the way we approach is catch them young. We look at grade 3s and 4s, kind of building up some curiosity-based learning, and then we transform those skills from the curiosity to ability, right? So end of the day, without intent, you can't achieve anything, right? So to get the intent, we need to have a curiosity. That's what this is all about. Once we give the intent and the ability, we convert that into outcome. Okay, so that's what we have our nuts and bolts of the approach. I'm going to skip this. I'm just going to straightly go to our focus areas. So STEM, we focus on science, technology, engineering, mathematics in a different approach. It's not necessarily we'll teach, I would say, core mathematics or core science, but it's more of what is required for the particular program on the context. Based upon that, we will kind of mix and match and drive that specific outcomes. So let's say the final focus is for kids to think on their own. When we manage to achieve that by giving them all the tools which we have kind of articulated, maybe it tells you in a broader, it's painting a broader picture, but not necessarily we have to kind of put everything on their brain at this stage. But the idea is independent thinking. We are encouraging independent thinking right from from the time they have all the tools with them, all the learnings with them. So what this looks like in terms of programs, we don't do cookie cutter programs, but we focus on problems. We look at a specific problem. Say, for example, Sri, Rihan, and Naishita today, they're going to tell us the real world problem, how they managed to look at the problem in their own way, and then how to solve it. So we take them to the problem, and we let them to analyze, empathize, and then drive the solution through different tool set. So we run stewardship programs, we run Lego League programs, we run some technology programs, AI programs. So it's based upon what is required and what we feel as a I would say mentors and teachers to ensure that we get a right set of I would say outputs. We kind of focus on what they need upfront, like if they want to know design thinking, we teach design thinking, systems thinking, problem solving, all those aspects. So these are the few programs we are working on right now. We will be running a hackathon. in partnership with Microsoft by September, October this year. And that will be based out of city of KC. We are working with Swinburne to develop a smart bin, kind of redefining the way the garbage bin we have at this stage. And we are looking for more programs. Again, it depends upon the cohort, it depends upon the need and the problem. I guess this is where you come in. We are a small fish in a big pond, very, very small organization. So we're looking forward to have a right sort of engagement with expertise we have in the room, to collaborate, to kind of mentor our students to engage, like kind of facility like this. So we kind of live using what we could to put our best foot to get that outcomes. So yeah, we're looking forward to work with not-for-profits, or could be a outcome based. We're looking at private public partnerships. So essentially, it's all about working collaboratively to get the best out for the kids. I think that's more or less I have. I would like to add something. Any question? I'm going to pause here. I think I talked a lot. Any questions at all? All good? Nice. So I'll leave it to Sri, Rehan, and Naishita. They're going to showcase what they've done in the last year or so. Their passion kind of come through their presentation, I believe.
Hello everybody, good evening. So my name is Shri, this is Rehan, and this is Nashida, and we are all part of STEM incubators. And over the past year and a bit, we've been working on the stewardship program, and we'll kind of be telling you about our journey and the end result, which is an app that helps reduce food waste.
Our aim for this was to reduce food waste. So the main reason we had this app was to help reduce greenhouse gases. This encourages people to consume more of their foods instead of wasting it, as majority of it is wasted when people buy. Like they overbuy food, or they end up wasting it because it's expired. So we're trying to help reduce that and spread awareness of this.
The next stage that we had is developing the idea of the app. So this journey started way back in 2020, where we started by learning about sustainability and had a few workshops with Mr. Matt Murray from America, who taught us about curiosity and really helped us enhance our design thinking and critical thinking skills. After that, we had a few sessions online with the Kingston Council, who taught us about waste management and what happens to our rubbish after it goes into landfill. We also had a visit to the rubbish sorting plant in Keysborough, where we kind of saw what happens to our food waste once it goes in the bin, and it kind of motivated us to find a solution, which we did in the app.
So I'll be talking about the IBM AI project.
So this is basically where the whole journey of prototyping and developing the app started. And it was a competition in mid-2021 where 4 of our students, including me and Shri, we participated in a competition to develop a prototype to a common world problem. So before we actually started diving deeper into the problem, we had many workshops on artificial intelligence. We learned about the different types of AI and how AI comes to play in our daily lives. So with our previous experience with sustainability, as we talked about earlier, we decided to focus on a sustainability related problem to solve with our prototype. So we brainstormed some ideas and decided on food waste as our main focus. So our final app idea was to track pantries of users using our app and then give them notifications when foods in their pantry are about to expire. So after we did all the hard work for that, we had developed a prototype which worked in Python, and we won second place for this, which really motivated us and caused us to see potential in the idea. So we decided to move on and take it a step further to implement the idea.
So when we decided to, after we came up with the idea, we had to come up with a design for the app. So when we were doing this, we had a bunch of students come and volunteer to have a day workshop, or 2 days actually, where we came together and we split into 4 groups to come up with an idea. With this, all of us tried to come up with an idea separately, and we performed this to a panel of judges, and whichever one was the most efficient and easy to use, we decided to choose that for what we were going to use as the app design.
After that, we had a few extended workshops as well, which kind of taught us about managing data. This was mainly for the team that was working on the AI development and the coding of the app. And we kind of learned about neural networks and cloud-based storage, which is very important in building an application. We also learned a few of the concepts of coding while developing an AI module for scanning the receipts. You'll see this in the app that we're about to showcase. And then eventually we had the production of the app, which was done with the help of a few professionals as well, but was our idea mainly. Now we'll be taking you through the app that we've made. While we're connecting, does anybody have any questions about the journey?
So I suppose first is a comment. I really like the idea of not wasting food. As a parent of 2 young kids in primary school, the amount of food that does end up getting thrown out is much more than we would like. I guess my question is about, and maybe it is a question as a parent, is, you know, keeping track of, you know, you've got to get the expiry dates into the app, which is an admin task, and that takes time. And time is one of the reasons why maybe food gets wasted, because we're not spending time checking, oh, that, you know, that product should be used first, and we can, you know, do a lasagna tonight and a noodles tomorrow or whatever. How I suppose this is about, what challenges did you find in getting people to use it, and also to hopefully help them save time? And the assumption is that the more that they can see that they'll save time, the more likely they are to be excited to use it. And I would have thought that would be a big challenge. And I don't know what your thoughts are as to how you sort of, I guess, sold it to the user.
Well, it was definitely difficult to sell it to the user. But some of the features in the app are kind of targeted towards making it better for even younger people to use and to motivate them to use it. So for example, In the future, we're planning on adding things like gamification, where you can compare your food savings to other people, and also things like showing how much money you've wasted, which kind of helps people see rather than food, which is not really necessarily something that they might care about, but in terms of money, and you'll kind of see that throughout the app.
Also, just to add on to what he said, you were talking about how it's also like time consuming to look at what we have in our pantries and how it would help us. But we also thought that like reason of money would help appeal to people, because normally when they look at food wastage, they don't realize how much they're wasting, but they realize how much money they're wasting after, and that's what we're trying to show in our data.
Yeah, so just add on to the add-on. Yeah, so you mentioned about problems with the expiry dates of the items, right? So it is definitely one of the issues in the bigger picture. Like, for example, when you buy stuff from supermarkets, it's a bit hard to get the actual expiry dates. So we've made some choices in terms of the ease of data entry into the application, in terms of scanning and then trying to do some calculations, some guess calculations in terms of the expiry dates for each of the items that you can actually easily tweak, right? So it will be shown as part of the demo, but it is actually one step towards easily entering the expiry dates instead of doing it everything manually on a specific date, right? But from a bigger picture perspective, we are thinking about how to make it better.
Okay, if I can just add a comment. When you mentioned gamification, and if I think back to my kids who do like helping out in the kitchen, I can see that the potential, even if the parents don't have time to do that, that would get the kids a lot more motivated to actually help out. And then it also, I suppose, helps model that conscientiousness, which I think is a win. And as a parent, that would be my piece of feedback to you when you sort of mentioned gamifying careful resource usage and not wasting of your food.
Yeah, that's a great point, because one of the drivers behind this was the behavioral driven change, but we had always thought about behavior driven change for adults. It's interesting that you bring the point about gamification and kids, right? So it's an interesting twist to the story. Thanks for that.
So now we can move on to the demo of the actual app. So if you can see here, our app is the one down at the bottom with the book as the logo. So I'll just open it up and show you how it looks. So as soon as you enter the app, you are prompted to enter your phone number. So I'll just enter that here. And then once you press send code, it should send you a message. This is currently a demo version, so it doesn't like fully go through all those functions. So I can just put in a code, and then it asks you for your name. So I'll just put in my name. And after all that, that makes sure that the user's data is protected, because obviously we don't want other people to be accessing what's in your pantry. So now you're taken to the home page, which is where you'll be able to see all your food items, which is in your pantry. And how you do that is by adding it to the app. So what you do to add food items to the app is press this plus button in the corner, and you'll get two options. So firstly, we can go through the manual option. So if you wanted to add items manually, you would be asked for the food name, and how you enter this is you can just type in the food that you want to log in, and it will just give you a lot of options from our database on the app, so that we can select from that. And it will also give an approximate price along with the approximate expiry date, which then can be edited here. So once I press save, it'll take you back to the home page, and you can see the different expiring soon items. So right now I've only added one item, so you can only see that one item there. But obviously we're not going to be buying just a few items every time we go shopping. So especially if you have like families with children, you might find yourself buying like big shopping lists every time you go shopping. So it'll be a big hassle to add each item manually. So what we've done is added a scanning module. So what you can do is once you press that plus button again, you'll be given another option to scan your receipt. So this is just an image of a receipt that we've added to the demo version of the app. So as you can see, it just has different things that you could buy from, and then you just press scan. And then it logs in the data just like it did on the manual, except you would have to take less effort in actually logging in the different foods. And you can also edit it here. You can edit the approximate price as well as the expiry date. And once you press save, it takes you back again to the home page where you can see the different expiring foods. So now I'll be passing it on. And just another cool feature that we've added is, so now you can only see the top 3 upcoming expiring items. So if you wanted to view all your items, you could press view all food items. So right here, if I press view all food items, what I'm going to be showing you is this feature at the top, which is called add to Siri. So right now I've already added a message to Siri, but I can just clear that quickly and I'll show you how it works. So now it gives me an option to add a message to Siri. Basically what this is trying to show is that you can access your food items by using your voice. So this could be incorporated into other smart home devices such as Alexa and Google Home, and there are many more. So this could be incorporated into that. So what you can do is just press add to Siri, and then it lets you set your own message, which you can then say to the device, and then it will automatically show you your expiring foods. So if I wanted to record phrase, show expiring food items. So now, as you can see, it's done that there. And if I go back, it shows the phrase which I would need to say to see all the expiring food items. So this means that every time, if you wanted to check food items, you wouldn't necessarily need to open up the app, go to view all food items and scroll through the whole thing. You could just ask Siri for the expiring food items and it would show you that. So I'll be passing it on to Shri.
So next, what we'll be doing is we'll be demonstrating how the app looks when you've been using it for a while. So just give us a few seconds so that we can pause. Okay, so now I'll be showing how the Bojan app looks like from the perspective of somebody who has been using the app for quite a while. So you can see here, as Rihan showed us before, you have the expiring soon tab. So this shows us the food items which are expiring the most quickly. Obviously, there are more food items that I have than just eggs, milk, and chicken. But before I go into showing all the food items, I'd like to show a feature that we added, which is a statistics graph. So like we were talking about earlier, I feel like it's important to talk about money when you're talking about food waste, because some people might not really be motivated by the fact that they're actually wasting food, but it's more motivating for them to reduce their waste of money. So you can see here, I've been using it for a while, and I've consumed $43 worth of food and have wasted $51 worth of food. So obviously you don't want it to be that you've wasted more food than you've consumed. But unfortunately that is what happened here. So that's something that the user can improve. and it shows them where they can improve in that sense. So next, I'll be walking through the pantry. So first you have your active tab. So this is showing what food items you have active. They're probably in your fridge. And then you have your expired tab, which I have a lot of. So these are all the foods that have been expired. And then you have the consume tab. So this is all the foods that have been consumed. So if, let's say, I've consumed my butter, I can swipe on the butter tab and then click consume. And then you'll see that it has gone into the consume tab right here at the bottom. And then let's say, for example, you let something expire. So you didn't mark something as consumed. So for example, I had milk in the fridge, right? And I forgot to mark it as consumed, but after its expiry date, it's gone into the expired tab. But you can always fix that by just using the same mechanism by swiping, and I'll remove it from expired into consumed. So that is the pantry part of our app. And next, I'll be discussing the information page. So here in the information page, it's looking a bit empty right now, but we're planning to make it add more functionality in the future. So basically all it's showing is the trends of the graphs of landfill garbage waste. So basically all the food that goes to your landfill, so that you put in your red bin if you're in the Kingston Council. Yeah, and we're planning to update it live. So as you can see, it goes up to September 2022, but in the future, it should be updating live every month. And next you have your green bin organics, which is the food that goes into your green bin waste. So it's also showing your trends. Basically, what we want to show is whether the app is kind of making a difference. So once it goes down, we know that we're reducing overall food waste, which is a good thing. And right now, it's kind of high. So we need more people to start using this app to reduce our overall food waste. Now I'll be passing it on to Nashida to talk about our community page.
Okay, so before I quickly talk about the community page, we have the profile. So some of the stuff we wanted to add on this was like the achievements a person has made. So for example, we wanted to have something called the 21-day challenge. This would be like, for 21 days, if you manage to keep track with the app and reduce all the food waste amount by a particular percentage, you could gain a particular amount of points. These points would lead to the community page, where we have our partnership with Oz Harvest, and coming up we'll have partnerships with more charities. Using the points from the gamifications we're going to use, you can choose to donate this to the charity as use it as a help of like satisfaction or to feel better about yourself. Yeah. So in the future we'll have more charities coming up here, and also we decided that we wanted to have recipes and other recommendations for people so that they can finish all the food they have in their pantry. So when we use this app, we can normally see a trend of what people use as individuals. So using that, we can give them recommendations on what they should buy and shouldn't buy, which they can choose to implement into their pantry. Using the food that they do have, if it's about to get expired, they might have recipes that come up that they can use to help reduce the amount of food waste they have. They can, for example, if they have bread, they can choose to make like a sandwich, for example, and the recommendations will be on here to add what they want in it, and they can choose to either share it with other community, or they can also like it and use it another time. Yes. We also want to use this app so we want to connect it to other home devices we have, such as Google Home and Alexa. So that's a lot easier to open up. So instead of opening up the app every single day, you can instead just quickly ask Alexa or your home devices to ask and tell you what you have left in your pantry. This would help a lot of people, so it's easily accessible and it's a lot more helpful for day-to-day life.
That's basically all that we have for the demo of the app, but does anybody have any questions about the functionality or any of the features in this app? All right.
Thank you everyone for listening. Now I would like to.
Got to switch it on first. So thank you for your presentation. I think that for myself personally, I've probably come up with 100 app ideas over the years. It's good to see people actually taking action and doing something with their ideas, which I think is fantastic and inspiring. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community here that have, you know, come up with different ideas for apps, and to see young people putting those ideas into practice is quite something. The question I have is about the development process. You've picked a platform to build on, like a framework. And my question is, what framework did you choose, and why did you choose that framework?
So most of the development, because we didn't have that much experience into actually developing apps, we had some professional come help with us, but I think the platform was iOS, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I've just got a contribution from John Hall, who's online. He said, excellent presentation. Please thank the students from the 40 odd people watching at home. And I think we would also agree here, the people here in person as well. So it was really fantastic. So thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Here, yeah?
I just wonder whether you have heard of Open Table. It's a non-profit organization. They collect all the food from various venues, and then they cook all this spare food that should be thrown away for the community. And it doesn't matter whether it's homeless but I attended one of them, and a lot of young people went there, and then they put like mushroom fruits, like apples, pears, and you can actually, besides having their cooked food, you can bring home whatever spare food that is on the table to bring home and cook, because all those are just free food that the supermarket or the stores may get rid of. So, but they are in good form. It's just like odd bunch. They may not look the standard type, but they are still good for eating. So maybe you can put it, get in touch with them and put it in your app.
Thank you for that. We'll definitely look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a not-for-profit organization, and it's all volunteers in the kitchen as well. So it's all these arty-farty people that turns out and just have a good time with all the free food that is collected. and there's boxes and boxes of them. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We'll definitely look into that.
I've just got another question from John online, and his question is, do you get any help from retailers, and if not, maybe they should? And I'm just going to throw in my own comment onto the back of that. I think a lot of times retailers want to do good, but they also really want to look like they're doing good, and so that might motivate them to make it easier for you to get the data into the system.
At first, when we were actually designing the app, we were looking into actually like tying up with someone like Woolworths or Coles, so we could get like access to the database, so it'd be much easier to track. So that was definitely something we were thinking of doing. Yeah.
Just got another comment as a parent again. When I saw that app and seeing you go through it, and again thinking about the gamification and motivating young kids. Also, I noticed that as my kids are getting older, they're getting more interested in cooking. And the thing that you do with food is you cook it and you use it in recipes. And so I just thought of, again, when you're learning about how to not waste food, you can learn new recipes and you can become more proficient in the kitchen. And kids love that. And I think also, and I'll be one of those grown-ups, I could be a lot better at cooking than I actually am. So that could be another benefit from your app.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a quick question from the gallery. Can you hear me there, or just as a sound check?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, no, I'm just wondering if barcodes are any use in scanning, because data entry by human beings is last century technique, and if we can simplify it before you get access to retailers' databases, if you can simplify it with time of day and date and barcodes, then data entry could be simplified a lot. Any chance?
This is a minimum viable product, just to tease your brain. The way it's going is we got a funding from 8 councils to develop this as a full-fledged product. So when it comes to full-fledged product or a commercial grade product, we are planning to use AI, or we're planning to directly integrate with a third-party databases such as Woolies or Coles, the flybys, or it could be the rewards, kind of a API. We tag into that API, and as soon as you complete your purchase, it automatically pulls in the data and comes to the app, and it kind of sits on the cloud, and then it kind of throws into the app. So we were looking at a seamless integration. We don't want somebody to enter the data, swipe it and stuff like that. We like to prefer to automate it. So we, as I said, we are getting a backing up from Microsoft. We are signing a MOU with 8 councils, and they will be taking it up. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in next 6 to 8 months, the kids can come and showcase the commercial grade product back to the same team. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
So the question was, how do we do it? Is it within the school or outside the school? We are very small organization. Most of the volunteers do a 9 to 5 job. So the way we engage is during the weekend, the holidays, school holidays. We build up a program during those school holidays, and we deliver the program during that. Again, end of the day, it boils down to the volunteers' availability, and more volunteers definitely will help us to deliver better solutions or deliver better programs to the community.
My question, do you see yourselves sort of expanding on this into your, I'm assuming you guys are at high school, is that right? Yeah. So do you intend on expanding, like going into university and studying development or as a career path at all?
Well, for me personally, I think, well, I'm not really sure about my career path yet because I still have a few years to go for that. But I would say, yeah, potentially, I feel like I really like development and coding, and it could be a potential career opportunity for me.
This is actually quite impressive what you guys have put together. I know you guys have just been at it, chugging away doing a thing, but it's quite something to create something from, a simple idea. And it's actually a very useful application. I can already, when can I download it? Do you know what I mean? Like I waste so much food. And I think the ideas and features that were, introduced here, like for example, suggesting menus. Like how often do I open the fridge and go, that's all going to go off, but I don't know how to cook it, So suggesting recipes, I think that's really good. So I think you guys should be very proud of yourselves. Yeah.
Thank you.
We've still got about 10 minutes until sorry, did you want to continue on with your conversation about your future? Do you have any plans or ideas of where you want to take this with yourself?
Same here for me as well, I guess. I'm still a bit unsure, but it could definitely be a potential career.
Honestly, same here. I have a couple ideas in mind, but it was definitely using the help of like STEM incubators and the opportunities they gave us. So using that, I think I have like a small idea, but I might build up on it, and this would definitely help in the future.
What did you find as the most difficult part of this process? Because ideas, sometimes they might be a dime a dozen, but taking it all the way through to an execution, as someone who works in IT, I know that can be very difficult. But what did you find as the hardest part of this process?
So I think for us, mainly the idea was the most difficult part was after the ideas, we had to create something. I know the parents mostly focused on the important parts of like coding it, perfecting it and everything. But I feel like for us, it would be actually taking all those ideas and putting it into a design that'd be useful. And we wanted to make it like a way that not only we could like see the app working, but also other people. So when we think of an app, we have to make sure it's not only easy for us to use, but also like everyone else who's going to be using it, right? So we don't know what they like, what they dislike. So I think that might be the hardest part for us, to see what everyone likes and dislikes about it.
Personally, also just to add on, obviously we couldn't just do it with us three. There were a lot of other people who were in our age range who helped us, and we worked with to create the ideas and design the app. So I guess one of the difficult things, not for everyone, but just personally, was like working with so many different people, because there's so many contradicting ideas and it's hard to like figure out all that.
Also, just to add on to that as well, like I feel like also the really beginning where we had to start to develop the ideas, because it was very broad. Like we managed to think sustainability, but that's obviously a very broad topic. So we kind of had to think what would be the most effective app idea for users to benefit from it, and what would be the most effective so that the environment does not get damaged. So like through like a long time, like a few months, we had to like slowly narrow it down and pinpoint it to food waste, which is kind of what we developed the app around.
Just a sort of a reply. As someone who's worked in IT just now for 20 years, if any of you, I know you're still working out your career decisions, but I think you'd all do very well in somewhere within the ICT sector, especially because it can be used to solve a lot of sort of problems we have, and food wastage is a really big one of those problems. So yeah, I think I really appreciate your answers, because I think you actually articulated some really common problems that we face when we're trying to engineer and design solutions in some technological form. So yeah, well done to you.
Unless anyone else has got any further questions or anything to add, shall we'll thank our guest speakers. Oh, actually. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, loud and clear. Good. So yeah, on behalf of MelbPC Group, thank you for coming to see us this evening. We very much greatly appreciate your time, energy, and effort, and what you've presented. I know it wasn't easy. Public speaking is a challenge, but what you guys have done, I think you should be very proud of. And yeah, your contributions have been quite outstanding. So thank you again for coming and sharing your ideas with us. Thank you. To the winners, I'd now like to invite Hugh and Stephen to. We're going to have a fireside chat about. Well, we thought it would be on cybersecurity, but it's more going to be around modern techniques for social engineering. That's what we sort of discussed, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it's not worth trying to pick them apart, but I suppose we can unpack that in the conversation, because it's all about helping keeping your money in your wallet or your bank account, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. So the question that I posed was, and I'll give you. You can have that one. All right, and I'll come over here. Okay, so the question that I posed to I mean, I'm sure you guys all know that Stephen and Hugh are IT professionals, and the question that I posed them is from our conversations in iHelp that are largely centered around cyber security threats that are affecting, members. And so what I asked to Hugh and Stephen is, as IT professionals, what thought processes do you guys go through to try and determine whether this is a real threat or whether it's a scam or whether it's in fact legitimate? And so that was the question that I asked them, and well, this is their response, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, because it probably depends on the context. If you're getting messages and the context doesn't make sense, then be suspicious. And maybe if you're getting a message and it's a bit exciting and it's a bit emotional, that's not how banks communicate to you. That's not how the ATO communicates to you. When the police don't tell you that they're going to come and arrest you, they just come and arrest you. So I think looking at the emotional side is one, and also like calls to action. Banks don't say, here's the link, click here to verify your details. So usually if there's a legitimate organization and they're telling you something, they will not provide a call to action. Like I got a text message the other day from the ATO that said, please log in and check there's a message from us, and that's it. So I don't know, Hugh, would you add anything to that?
I was going to talk about my own experience the other week. So it was my first time using Facebook Marketplace, and I decided to sell a Chromebook that I had that I didn't want anymore. And so, it'd been a couple of days, and I got this, kind of excited message from someone wanting the Chromebook. And they asked for the price and stuff, and then they were, they sent this kind of, quite strange message, saying, this Chromebook is in, you know, fantastic condition, and you know, the price is right, and they, you know, they seem very keen on something that's, you know, just a used Chromebook. So you know, we talk about, you know, what you were just saying, Stephen. So, you know, my suspicions were kind of aroused, you know, at this point, because, you know, it's a kind of overblown response to the sale of a secondhand Chromebook. And so, you know, from there, you know, I said, you know, the price was $200, and they said, yeah, sure, like, I'll pay for it right now. You can take it down, you can mark it sold. I'll have my brother come and, you know, collect it off you tomorrow, at a location of your choosing. And so, you know, that was
Speaks
also
like
odd.
that.
You know, why do they need their brother to then come and, you know, pick it up from me rather than themselves? And so, you know, then they were like, yeah, I want to pay by pay ID. So I sent them my pay ID, and then they're like, yeah, I put the payment through. So I had a look at my bank account, you know, a couple of times, and nothing had come up. So, you know, by this stage I'm even more suspicious. And then they're like, you know, please check your spam folder. I think, you know, I think something's come back from your bank about pay ID. It's could be in your spam folder, and, you know, so then I'm like, you know, why, you know, how would you know? So then I look in my spam folder, and yeah, so what they've done, they've taken my email address, and they've sent this fake kind of pay ID message saying that because my pay ID is not registered in a business name, it's not, the transaction's been held up, and they need to send a further $700 to activate the account and make it a business account. So, you know, at this point, like, I definitely knew it was a scam. But obviously the idea is for someone unsuspecting to come along and they go, yeah, sure, you know, send the extra $700, and then, you know, then they'll obviously, once it's sent through, they'll then ask for it to be refunded. So, you know, then you're down that $700 rather than being paid the $200 that you originally thought you were being paid. So there's a whole range of kind of emotional kind of calls to action there, aren't there?
Well, yeah, let's try and unpack them. So I think there's ego. You're getting flattery about a used commodity device. That's one. And maybe, I don't know if this happened with you, but I've had that too, because I've sold a bunch of junk out of the garage at home, and I was offered $50 more than what I was asking for. So if that was used, then there's greed. And again, anyone who's sold secondhand stuff online knows that tire kickers are everywhere, and they're going to haggle with you. So as soon as someone comes along and doesn't haggle and tries to offer you more money, like, I think that would be a suspicion for any experienced Gumtree reseller, you know, garage Gumtree reseller.
Yeah.
And yeah, the brother or cousin who's, you know, they've got an important business trip. What's that like? They're trying to make you think like they're important and therefore they're legitimate. Maybe that's somehow legitimizing I don't know, is it trying to get you to drop your guard or something?
It's almost like there's always some sort of intention of triggering some sort of emotional reaction, you know, and then like you said, the ATO, they're not interested in triggering you emotionally. What they're interested in is informing you of something, you know, and so a lot of social engineering, it's one of the techniques of social engineering is to fake authenticity. And I think what you said about the business trip, I mean, that's a method of, you know, trying to give you the impression that you're speaking with someone of some sort of authority. I mean, that's an emotional, people generally submit to idols to people of authority, you know, and so that's part of their technique. And it's social engineering is actually it's more of a science, you know, trying to manipulate people into doing things. You know, some of the biggest cyber attacks in the world have been as a result of social engineering. If you look at Stuxnet, how they got it in there was by dropping a USB stick on the ground, and someone eventually picked it up and put it into a computer. That's how they got it in there. You know,
Yeah,
it wasn't connected to the internet.
The people are always the
Just
weakest link in
curious.
every security
Yeah.
apparatus. That scam, Hugh, that was one of I had that one too. And I responded to the person with the email saying, I've contacted my bank and they may get in contact with you. And the person disappeared, because what I tried to do was, once I realized, oh, of course this is not real, I tried to provide an example of a process, a very, boring process driven response, just to see. And they immediately, they obviously realized that I had zero emotion in my response. And it was just an interesting experiment where I was experimenting with them, because they immediately disappeared and ended the chat before I was able to report them as a scammer. Because I think in some of the secondhand selling platforms, if they end the chat first, then you can't report them, so they can scam for longer until someone else catches them out.
Yeah. In my case, I was a bit more immature and I just went, haha, I know you're a scammer. Bye.
You'll get to the point where you can tell that they're a scammer before you've even replied to their message. Often, if it's a stolen account, often these are perpetrated using stolen accounts. The account will be held by someone who's, when you click on their profile, and most people have some public part of their profile that at least gives some geographical indicators. I've had a look at a few, and I've had one that looked very much like it was in Italy. Every single person had what I would say is very Italian sounding names. All the comments were in Italian. I translated some of them, and it turns out that there was people saying, that's a scam, you're a scam, this is a stolen account. But often there's usually no geographical connection to where you are. I don't know if that's deliberate or if they just find that it's easier to steal accounts in some of these other geographies. But usually there's indicators that you can look for.
One that I saw, I was approached on Facebook by a Bitcoin scam, and they had impersonated a public figure who was well known in that sort of area, but and had perfectly replicated their profile. So you go to the real person's profile, and it was almost identical, except that the scammer had 5 friends and they were all Nigerian. That was, that was the giveaway to me. There was just that was suspicious.
Yeah, and sometimes they're just lazy. If they're going to try and trick you, they should at least set up a bit of a backstory. I mean, they shouldn't, because they should fail because they're stealing. But sometimes it's just such a unsophisticated attempt. I think once one scanner in a neighborhood finds out and they all sort of start copying, they're really lazy.
And you see that a bit on Facebook, the fake profile of the famous people, and you see the one where they'll say you've won a competition in comments on like a big kind of group post, and obviously once again people are meant to get excited and go, oh my god, I won a competition, and contact them, and I'm not sure where the scan goes from there, but once again it's that play on human emotion.
Yeah,
that's common across all these.
It's funny. I'll quote a saying, and I bet you've all probably heard this from all your grandparents and parents. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And there's a reason why that's a really timeless saying, and I think it applies because it can help us not get triggered for excitement and greed. You're not going to win a $600,000 RV by writing your name and tagging 10 friends. You're just providing data to someone who's going to do something dodgy with it.
But then, of course, so far we've talked a lot about the positive kind of feedback loop of these scams. There's one I see a lot, which is a negative feedback loop, and that's what I call the antivirus renewal scam, where you'll get an email from either, reporting to be from either McAfee or from Norton, saying we've renewed your antivirus protection for a year. It's normally at an inflated price, like, you know, around $150. And there's a number to call at the bottom if, you know, if you believe this has been sent in error. And you know, I mean, the first thing, if you looked at it, the first thing you'd notice is it's a local number. It's like an 02 or an 03 number rather than a 1300 number or a 1800 number, as a big corporation like Norton or McAfee would generally use. But then, you know, a few of my clients have fallen for this scam, and you know, so what happens is that, you know, you'll ring up, you'll complain, they'll say, sorry about that, they'll connect to your computer, they'll, you know, help you to uninstall McAfee or Norton.
Uninstall $150,000 out of your bank account.
Yeah, that's right. Along the way, help you to turn off your billing and, you know, get into your bank account. And yeah,
I've seen that theme where it was, you know, it was an e-commerce retailer, but it's the same thing. It's, you get sent an amount that looks like an obvious overcharge, and it makes you infuriated that the biller has overbilled you. And again, you know, there's mild levels of anger that's probably there. That's, oh, I'm going to tell them, I'll give them a piece of my mind, I'll sort this out. And then they hook you in and try and, yeah, it's all about getting a quick reaction. You know, like there's parts of it, I'm not a, you know, a behavioral psychologist, but what I do know of it is that emotions are faster than our sort of rational brain. And if we can be triggered to act quicker, then our rational brain doesn't get a chance to intervene and say, hang on a second, that's not right. You should wait and pause.
Yeah, there was one. Yeah, that one comes to mind. Is there was a scam recently with asking, was it daughter, airport, lost phone, you know, or broken phone, and so that one came to me, you know, quite recently, and my daughter, I immediately had a visual response, an emotional response, and then my conscious mind is having this conversation with my emotional brain, saying, "Hang on, Simon, your daughter doesn't communicate like that. She doesn't write text messages like that. She's like, she doesn't talk like that, you know." And so even though I'm having this emotional response of the fear that my daughter's in trouble, it's like, don't think so, you know. But I guess if you're, if I didn't consider that, or wasn't in the context of, hang on, my daughter doesn't think like that, then that could very easily have roped me in, you know, because the fear of, you know, children in trouble. I mean, my daughter's 14, you know what I mean? So I don't, it's a very emotional, you know, and I guess that's the idea of the trigger. It's to grip you in, so then you react quickly to try and avoid the discomfort. And then later on you realize when your I guess your prefrontal cortex comes back online, it's like, hang on, that was a scam. But by that stage, it's too late. In most cases, in some cases.
I think another, sorry, did you have a question or comment?
Well, the message was, hey, Dad, I'm at the shopping centre. I've lost my phone. I'm messaging you from a friend's phone. And all of those things, I could go, yep, that's my daughter. My daughter would be at the shopping centre. She could have lost her phone, and she is messaging from a friend's phone. All of those things I could relate to, but my daughter doesn't say, hey, Dad. She doesn't communicate to me like that, you know? And yeah, and that was the only sort of point of reference that I had. Yeah. Yeah, was there a link?
It's often,
I had to communicate back by text message. They were trying to get me to communicate.
They often try and get you to go and
trying to ask for money or something, I suppose.
I've received a couple of variations of it. The hey Dad, I smashed my phone, and often they'll try and get you to go onto WhatsApp, or some other platform that's where they can then start to work the ruse, I guess, with you. It's
Yeah.
all variations on the same
It's all
thing.
variations on the same, yeah, on the variations of the same thing. Yeah, another one we were talking about before, which is was what's it, the CityLink linked.
Linked, yeah.
Yeah. They sent me one the other day to top up my account, and again, I drive on CityLink and EastLink every day, you know, but I don't top up my account. You know, and it's like I'm having this fight with it. Do I give them? I've got to give them money, but then it's like, hang on a second, you have an account with them. They send you an invoice, you pay the invoice. There's no top up, you know. It's but man, they're getting very good and at eliciting that sort of emotional response.
And yeah, I mean, like the first time I got that, I got one of those as well. And, you know, like I auto top up my linked account, but, you know, like I actually had the link open and like I'm looking at it and it's like a sort of invoice and, you know, it's got a logo and I'm like, you know, yeah, it does really look like a linked logo. And, you know, I'm really fighting with myself with like, you know, maybe my auto top up failed, maybe my credit cards
Maybe I've made a mistake.
failed or
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a tough one initially.
Yeah. Like, and what was another one I got was Origin for an outstanding gas account, and it was looked legitimate, like looked exactly like an Origin account would look like, except I'm not an Origin customer. But man, the effort that they went to was quite something.
I've had one of those. The trouble is I don't have a gas meter anymore, so that was a bit of a factual issue that they didn't think to check.
Yeah, but Origin would never communicate in that way, you know, and I think that's the thing that you pointed out, Stephen, was that it's not a normal communication. It's not a normal communication.
I think sort of on the sort of what is normal, because I agree with you in that it's, you know, if you can identify what a normal communication is, then what is the process? And if you start understanding the process that these providers use, and these providers design processes around security and integrity and allowing you to authenticate them and them allowing them to authenticate you. So as soon as something breaks away from that process, that should be a red flag. But sometimes it's hard to understand what the processes are. And as we've got providers that are bringing a lot, you know, they're sort of moving their services from, you know, real life to digital, and that's how you're dealing with them. If you don't know what those new processes are, and some of them can be really hard to keep up with, then therein lies an opportunity for a scammer to get in first and to trick you and potentially steal from you. So, I mean, it's not easy to keep up with all of them, but I think to the extent that you can understand those processes and know what they are, then you can notice deviations from those processes, and then you can have reason to at least double check. It might still be legitimate, but at least if you know how to scrutinize, then that makes it a lot harder, because, you know, like lots of crime, they'll just go on, the perpetrator will just go on to an easier target rather than trying to work on you.
Yeah, they'll just move on to the next one. Yeah.
And I think a good point too is like to know who your providers are. Like you're saying, you want an Origin customer, and you know, I know someone the other day who they got a text appointing me from Optus. Like they're not actually an Optus customer. They have an account with an Optus mobile virtual network operator. So you know, if they'd been aware enough to go, you know, hey, I'm actually with, you know, this provider that sure they sell Optus, but they're not actually Optus. They would have.
Like, I remember the first thought was, hang on, am I an Origin customer? You know, it's almost like gaslighting. It's like they're trying to put you off guard. You know, trying to throw you off center, and you actually question, maybe I am. Have I made a mistake? Have I forgotten something? Am I missing something? Am I crazy? You know, and that's you know, another sort of toolkit, another bit in their arsenal that they can use to try and manipulate us into thinking that we've done something wrong or made a mistake. Okay, thank you. Anyway, so that brings us to, has anyone got any questions? Any questions from the audience at all? Or any questions on Zoom?
just a comment, but one of the areas that I've found very good for keeping a finger on the pulse on scams is the government's Scamwatch website, scamwatch.gov.au. And just very, very quickly whipping through a couple of pages here, recent scam activity. So we're looking at April 23, what were the major areas? And they were attempts to gain your personal information, buying or selling, dating and romance, fake charities, investments, jobs and employment, threats and extortion, unexpected money, unexpected winnings. And it's interesting that in April 23, of the amount lost, $52 million, number of reports, 20,000, of which, of that 20,000, 2,000 were accompanied with financial loss. Some of the other stats, equal female and male delivery method, and following on from some of what you've been saying, text messages 33%, emails 27%, phones 22%, and that only leaves about 15 or 20% left via other means. Age distribution of people reporting, in the 10-year brackets between about 18 and 64, it's about 3,000 reports per group. Over 65s, amazing, more than 5,000. So obviously people are targeting the elderly, and there are more statistics and what have we, lots more explanations of the types of scams, etc., etc. So very good website. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your contribution.
I think I just yes, certainly thanks, Colin, for their contribution. I think know your enemy. If you know the MO, as they say in law enforcement, of the bad guys, then you know the sort of things that they're going to try and do. And resources like scamwatch.gov.au and cyber.gov.au have got some really good resources, and they've got, you know, they're well resourced and they do a lot of research and they try to bring that to us. So it's in our interest to keep up to date, and those are some good resources to do that with.
Well, yeah, I hope you found that useful. I certainly got a lot out of it. Thank you to Stephen and Hugh for your contribution this evening. Yeah, that good? Yeah, I think that went okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to invite Bert to begin iHelp Live via Zoom. Remind members that if they have any computer issues they need solving, this is the time to ask. I'd also like to remind members that iHelp is available Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for any member. So how do we do iHelp? Is Hugh giving a report? Hugh? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Hugh. So do we do Bert via the Zoom? Or just hold a moment.
Yeah, good evening, gents.
There he is.
And madam, if there's a lady present. Yeah, if anyone wants help on iHelp, it's posted on our MelbPC website. I think the phone number's, no, sorry, I better not guess the phone number, I'll get it wrong. But if you look on the website, it's a number, and what will happen is your query will be recorded, and then we pick up the recordings and we will answer that question and that problem until it's solved. So if the first person can't solve it, then you'll have the rest of the team and hopefully the rest of MelbPC to help them. Anyway, gents, thank you very much. Oh my goodness. Just, I thought you might like to know some of the sort of characters we deal with sometimes, and some of the things we do to help. Sometimes they're not just straight, computer related things. I'm just going to quote 3 areas, and I'm going to call these Tom, Dick, and Harry, just so that they can stay anonymous. All right, if we start with Tom, he's a character who's 98 years old. He's got hearing aids in both ears, and he's not too bad as far as hearing goes. That's probably his best forte at the moment. He's had macular degeneration in his eyes, and during COVID he was supposed to get an injection which would have kept his eyesight. This is what he tells me, but because of COVID he was restricted and he didn't go for the injections, and consequently he's just about lost all his eyesight as well. Anyway, it's pretty good for a 98-year-old. He's not letting many of these things hold him back. His ability to operate on the computer has gone down. He's probably down to about the last couple of things that he can do: send emails, and he uses the maximum zoom on the computer, which I believe is a 200-fold magnification. But anyway, it's amazing. I mainly go there, and his wife tells me that he really likes my visits, mainly because he just likes to get that sort of support and feel that he's not alone in his old age. Unfortunately, he's got 2 children, and they're both pretty busy. I believe his son has a fairly responsible position, and has a lot of difficulty getting back to him. He does see a little bit of his grandson, who also helps him occasionally with the computers, although his function on computers is getting very limited. But it's still great to go and see him. I enjoy talking to him and just seeing that, it makes him happy to solve some of his minor issues. So that's Tom. I'm just going to quote quite a different character, Dick, we'll call him. It seems like we get all the unusual characters. I had to go and do a home assist, which I do, and he lives not far from where I live, so that's why I got the job. And he had some issues with certain programs. When I actually went to see him, he was much more capable on computers than I was. He was writing code and doing all sorts of things. So, but he had some issue which, amazingly enough, I was able to actually help him a little bit with. He was still using Windows 7, and he didn't want to change. He was going to go out screaming with Windows 7. He just couldn't get convinced to go to the next layers of Windows, and he's very unusual. He contacts us and says, "Look, I need some help," and then he'll get some help on the phone, and then you'll say, "Oh, well, we're going to have to try and do that," he said, "but I don't have the time now. Contact me again in 2 weeks." So you contact him in 2 weeks, and again, "Oh no, not quite just yet. Give me another couple of weeks." Anyway, this is this particular character. So very interesting. the other thing I noticed when I went to see him, he's one of these people that's a hoarder, and he has a fantastic range of books on war, basically war, any war. Goes right back to, I'd say, almost prehistoric. Might have been wars between, prehistoric animals, but I don't know, not really. But he's gone back to very old wars and right up until the Second World War and past. He's got books on everything. But the other thing is he's a magazine storer, and to get in his front door, I had to go past 2 stacks of magazines about almost waist height to walk through all these magazines and very carefully through everything that's stacked to get to his computer. But this was him, and he really enjoyed it. He lived on his own, so I guess he had the ability to do all these things without getting told off. Anyway, he seemed to be enjoying it. So, and he's quite another one of our great characters. And I think that's about all I can say about him. He's quite amazing. We're still waiting for the day when he's going to go off Windows 7. Dave's helped him a lot too. So, mainly he quite likes to talk to Dave because Dave helps him a lot on the phone. And so far, he hasn't needed any more home assist. So I haven't had the pleasure to go out there again. Another one of our characters, I've called Harry, is he covers all the other characters we have. We have some who forget very minor things, and we just help them through it. And others who worried, like we just heard about security, and there were quite a few that and as you can tell from the statistics, it's us older guys who seem to get picked on. And so they're much more wary of what's happening, and sometimes it's unwarranted, but we see quite a lot of examples where they get funny emails and stuff, and sometimes they can catch you off guard. If you're expecting a delivery and you get a notice saying your delivery's been delayed and you're not quite sure how it's being delivered, it might be star deliveries, it might be whatever it is, and you'll just suddenly get a notice from them. And I nearly made the error of just linking through to find out where it was, because it said, click here to show the status of your delivery. And it was, it was that close that I nearly went into it myself. I don't think I would have left any details, but whether the link was enough to then, bless me with a whole lot of new emails as well. So I think that's about it. Thank you very much for listening to all that. I hope it was a little bit entertaining. If there's any questions that we might be able to help with, perhaps, I don't know whether we've tabled them as yet or what's happening. If our MC could answer that, please.
Is there any questions? Is that the question? Is there any questions? Yes, one question. You want the microphone? I'll repeat the question. Yeah, for those on Zoom.
Is someone speaking?
Yeah, I'll give you the mic.
Robin, Zoom is muted.
So we have an audience member who's having trouble with her computer. And what was your question? You'd like to know?
No, just an error. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep. So we can hook you up with someone. Is that what you're? There'll be someone in iHelp that can assist you during the week or tonight. Yeah, that's what the service is. Yep. Okay. Well, we can organise that, can't we? iHelp. That's what
Can we get a
iHelp
phone
is.
number now, please?
Yeah. Sorry.
Can we get a phone number now, please, or a membership number?
Yeah, we'll grab that information and pass that on.
You can put it on the chat if you like.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll help in that way. Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
While we're talking phone numbers, the iHelp phone number is 9276 4088.
Thanks, Harry.
9276 4088. I'll probably put that on the line as well. And also, there's an online form on the website that members can use.
Okay. Thank you, Harry.
Yes, thank you very much, Harry.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yep, I have a question here, Peter Carpenter. Phones seem to be an integral part of PCs these days. I'm having a bit of fun starting a new phone. The object is to essentially clone one Android phone to another, or copy everything from one Android phone to another. And I'm finding it to be quite an adventure. All I'm after is reassurance, I suppose. The sites that I'm looking at tell me about Android to iPhone, iPhone to Android, with Google iDrive, local folders that don't match the folders I have. It's going to be possible, isn't it? Anyone know? Bert?
Yes, it should be able to. I did that myself on my phone about, I think it was about a year ago when I got my latest phone. And it's actually on the phone itself. When you get your new phone, it should have the option there where it says, get your phone, get details or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording, but you can then just download all I got everything, contacts. You don't get the photos, that'd be too much, but
Why not? I want the photos.
You want the photos?
I want to clone.
Cloning your photos is another story. You can load them onto your computer and then and keep them there. I think putting them on your phone is more risky that you're likely to lose them. That's the only thing. So
that's my problem.
But if you want to get them on your phone again, you can clone them to your computer and then back to the new phone. So if you'd like to do that,
just via file transfer.
Yeah.
Some help sites on WhatsApp have told me how very easily I can transfer my chats. But I want more than the chats. I want all my media and all my movies. All my videos.
Yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have to do. That's the only way I know. I don't know. I guess it may be possible, but it would be lots of gigabytes that you'd be transferring.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
It's all right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Bert. Yeah, some reassurance. I'll give it a go. I'll continue.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if Harry's got more to comment on that.
Could I make a comment on that?
Knows what I'm going to say. If you keep the stuff in the cloud with an access on the phone.
Bit quiet, Harry.
If you keep the stuff in the cloud somewhere, because you can have clients for your cloud drives on your phone, then there's no issue about transferring data between the phones. All you do is make sure the client is mounted on the new phone.
Yes.
I keep a lot of my stuff in my Microsoft OneDrive because I'm paying the king shilling, as I can now call it, can't I, to Microsoft for that. So I don't need to worry about storage within a device, as long as I've got, in that case, the client, which is a OneDrive app, so that I can get at it.
Yeah, I don't trust, or I don't like the cloud myself. So I tend to not use the cloud. I had my own personal cloud, but I don't know if there's issues about security, but I ended up with getting advice from the company, I think it was Western Digital, saying, oh, we can't support you any longer. You know, your security is not there. So, you know, in the end, I had to pull everything onto a computer and close off my own personal cloud. But
I'll just make a brief comment about the cloud. I think most people here are using email either by using a browser or by using a client like Thunderbird or Outlook and using IMAP, because that's certainly the preferred system for Google. You're already using the cloud because your email is in it. And that's been there for decades before we had the word cloud. Before cloud became the term, as the cloud drives came in, of course, that's part of what's changed for it over the last 20 or so years. You're already using the cloud unless you're using POP. And even then, your email starts in the cloud and you can tell it to stay there if you tweak the setting in your client.
May I make a comment?
Yes, Barry.
I got a new phone last year, and was Telstra is the provider, and he sorted that out. What he did first of all, on your phone, some material saved in the phone and some's on the SD card, and the guy at Telstra first of all copied all the stuff that was on the phone onto the SD card. Then he took out that card and put it in the new phone.
True.
And then the data's there and you can copy it into the phone, or if you're not going to use the same SD card. So that was the way he did that. It seemed to be pretty straightforward.
I've just been reading about WhatsApp.
Your SD card is like an external drive. So as long as you can persuade the phone to store things in that, even for the changeover, then it's indifferent which device it's in because you've got it on a card.
Exactly.
Certainly a good thought at that point. But what I found, I haven't been into SD cards recently, but my previous phone, where I had a rather limited amount of onboard memory, I was doing my best to persuade the applications to store their data on the SD card. And at least then, we're going back 3 or 4 years now, so things may have changed. Not all applications are happy to store their data on your SD card. You would have to go through a deliberate export exercise in that case to make sure you got the stuff onto the card. Whereas if you can persuade your application to use the SD card, and this is going to be an in-app setting, then already that's kind of like using a removable disk on your computer, or indeed using a cloud drive, come to think of it, isn't it? But you don't worry too much about what's in the little box because you're removing one way or another the storage to use from another device.
Yeah,
You got any,
about that? Yeah.
Have you got a subscription, Harry, to a terabyte of space in the cloud?
Oh, to the evil genius of Microsoft. Yes, I have. Look, everybody else come in and give your questions. The other thing, about a year ago now, when we were talking a lot about issues of storage, I just looked at the market for the different leading cloud storage providers. So of course, Google's in there, and Microsoft, and Apple. And what stuck out there, I think I've mentioned this in present company before, is that there's no market, there's no price points. You know, if you go into a wine store within limits, you're confident what you're supposed to expect to be given a given price point, and it's only exceptionally that you do better with half the price or worse with twice the price, because it's a well-developed market, albeit in a slightly ill-defined product. But when you look at cloud storage, it's all over the place. And a good example is Dropbox, where, okay, you get your 2 gigabytes free, And in the good old days, you persuaded 3 friends to join, and then you ended up with 4 or 5 gigabytes if you were lucky. But then their steps up are really only for businesses. They're very expensive. Apple's not bad at 50 gigabytes, which is just under $2 a month. But what stands out is that for Microsoft's $140, subject to discount, as you may know, you can have you and 4 family members, I think it's a total of 5 people, isn't it? Each of them with 2 terabytes drive. So if I've persuaded a couple of family members to join up where they've already given up on their personal single accounts, it turns out if you're into cloud storage to be very good value for money, even if you don't ever use Word and Excel, just for the storage. It's just a crazy market, and I can't rationalize it in terms of, you know, value for money or so on, but it works out Microsoft is a bit of a standout in that respect.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you to the iHelp team for their contributions this evening. If anyone needs any iHelp assistance, there is the phone number posted into the chat. And if you're local here and you require some assistance, we can certainly help you. I would like to just sort of end the meeting. Thank you for all those who attended, and thank you for those online. And we wish you all the best. The next meeting will be on July the 5th, 2023. And I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you then. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Right, so we're still online, I think, folks, aren't we? But the recording, I expect, will stop any second. So you can say what you like then.
Okay, if you don't mind, I might head off, Harry.
No, well done, Bert. Thank you very much.
Good night, Bert. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Harry, your microphone's not as good as it has been.
It's because I'm using my laptop at the moment. I could put on a headset, just a minute. I invested in the headset precisely for this reason, so I ought to use it.
Good night, all.
Good night.
See you, Dave.
Actually, Peter, my normal microphone is my webcam. Logitech webcam that I've had for several years. And it innocently sits there. Just a moment, I'm going to plug in my Lenovo headset into my Lenovo laptop.
Oh, I'm on now. Is that any better?
That's excellent.
Yeah, okay. I'm not surprised, Peter. And I'm glad to hear it because it did cost me $40 or something. It wasn't outrageous for the price. Oh, by the way, can I just raise this with you guys? Anyone present with serious experience of headphones, whether or not they are interactive with a mic. So in my little U3A class, I have one of the members who has some difficulty with hearing without her hearing aids on. And I pointed out to her that she could use Bluetooth headphones within a reasonable distance of the source, which I can't remember whether it's a TV set or a computer. But one of the issues about that is that if you have the sort of hearing aids that I've got with little dongles behind your ears, a smaller cup presses against your ears and it can become a little tiresome. Now, I have a rather ancient set of Sony headphones with very big cups. So they don't press on that part of the ear at all. I'm just wondering how easy it is to find that kind of headphone these days. Have they gone out of fashion? Because most of what I see when I rarely venture onto public transport and so on. Oh, sorry. Just a moment. I've been asked by Murad in Zoom to stop the recording and I have absolutely no idea how to do it.
Who's the
Does
host?
anyone still in the room know what I have to do?
Who's the host?
Well, I suspect I'm now the host. See,
Okay.
wait a minute. See that maybe I've got something along the bottom of my screen now. Pause, stop recording. Good. I've done it. Yes. Okay. Sorry. That's happened.